Once upon a time, there was a kingdom ruled by a wise and kind king. The people of the kingdom lived in peace and prosperity. Their lives were full of happiness, and the king was greatly loved by his people. One day, the king decided to embark on a long journey to visit distant places, including important historical sites and pilgrimage centers. His purpose was to interact with his people, learn more about their lives, and share in their experiences. However, the journey took a toll on the king's body, and it was a simple, wise solution from one of his ministers that led to an important realization. This is a story about the power of self-change and how we can solve problems by starting with ourselves rather than trying to change the world around us. A long time ago, there was a wise king who ruled over a prosperous kingdom. His people loved him for his kindness, and they lived in peace and happiness. One day, the king decided to take a long journey across the kingdom. He wanted to visit historical sites and pilgrimage centers, but he also wanted to see how his people were living in distant lands. The journey was long and tiring, but the king was determined to see it through. As he traveled, he was warmly received by the people. They were excited to meet their king, and he enjoyed speaking with them, learning about their lives and their struggles. But after weeks of walking, the king began to feel an unbearable pain in his feet. He had never traveled such long distances on foot before, and the rough, stony roads made it even worse. He could hardly bear the pain and began to complain to his ministers. The king said, "The roads are too hard. They are full of stones and they hurt my feet. I worry about my people who have to walk on these roads every day. It must be so painful for them." The king then decided that the solution to this problem was to cover all the roads in his kingdom with leather so that no one would have to suffer the way he had. His ministers were shocked by the king's plan. They knew that it would take a vast amount of leather, and they would have to kill many cows to get enough. It would be expensive and difficult to implement. After thinking about it for a while, one wise minister stepped forward and offered suggestions. "Your Majesty," said the wise minister, "instead of covering all the roads in leather, why not just cover your own feet with leather? That way, you can protect your feet from the pain without having to change the entire kingdom." The king was surprised by this suggestion, but also impressed. It was a simple and practical solution. The king ordered a pair of leather shoes to be made for himself. He realized that instead of trying to change the whole world around him, he could start by changing himself. He also encouraged his people to wear shoes to protect their feet, so they would not suffer the same pain he had experienced. The king had learned an important lesson. Instead of trying to change everything around us, we should start by changing ourselves. By changing our own behavior and mindset, we can improve our lives and the lives of those around us. What motivational lessons can we learn from this story? 1. The power of self-change. The story teaches us that instead of trying to change the world around us, we should focus on changing ourselves. When we make positive changes within, it reflects in our actions and in the world we interact with. For his personal responsibility. The king did not blame the roads for his discomfort. Instead, he took responsibility for finding a solution. This teaches us that we should take responsibility for our own problems and work to improve our situations, rather than relying on external factors to change. 3. Simplicity can be the best solution. The wise minister's solution was simple and effective. Sometimes the best solutions to our problems are the simplest ones. We should not overcomplicate things, when simple actions can bring about great results. 4. Wisdom overcomes impulsiveness. The king's initial reaction was to change the entire kingdom, but the wise minister offered a more thoughtful approach. This teaches us that wisdom often requires patience and careful consideration before taking action. 5. Personal growth leads to greater happiness. By focusing on improving himself and his own behavior, the king found a solution to his problem. Personal growth brings peace and happiness, and it is through personal development that we can make the world a better place. The story of Change Yourself and Not the World offers a valuable lesson about self-reflection, personal responsibility, and the power of simplicity. It teaches us that when we take responsibility for our own actions and make changes within ourselves, we can create positive change in our lives. The king's realization reminds us that we don't always need to change the world to make a difference. Sometimes we only need to change ourselves. This story motivates us to work on our own growth and to approach challenges with a positive and practical mindset.